recognize and introduce a special guest that we have in the audience tonight, and that special guest is our interim police chief, Chief George Robinson. George, thank you so much.
Can I say a couple of words?
You certainly can. Come forward when you do so.
I'll be real brief. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Edenton after 32 years with Rocky Mount Police Department. I came here after the chief came retired. The community is beautiful. I was walking downtown today. I have been overwhelmed by the generosity and the niceness of the people of Edenton. I just want to personally say thank you for welcoming me in the way that you have. I even got offered to stay in somebody's home for free. They got an Airbnb. I have never seen this much hospitality in the community. I know there's a lot of things going on throughout the country, but this community, and I told the city manager the other day, the preparation for the hurricane is second to none. Other people can come in here, other cities, and learn from the city of Edenton. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Next, if you will join me in standing and pledging allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'm going to ask Councilman Elton Bond to lead us in our invocation.
We bow our heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, in the name of your precious Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for providing us with a beautiful little town of Edenton. Help us as councilmen to keep it clean, to keep it quiet, and make it a safe place for people to live in, for kids to go to school and play in. Sometimes up here on the council, we come to different agreements, disagreements, but let us remember that all we want is what's best for the town of Edenton. Let us always do our best to put Edenton first. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Councilman Bond, thank you as always. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our July meetings. That includes the July 9th, July 22nd, and July 9th closed session. This council had the opportunity to take a look at those, and are there any requests for changes or additions?
No, make that to approve this one.
Okay. Second. Got a motion second. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those minutes are now approved. Next, we move to the section of our agenda where we provide for and allow public comment. We've got a number of people signed up tonight, and I will call you in the order in which you signed up. We would like to remind each speaker that we do have a 3-minute time limit that we enforce. The first speaker that signed up is T.C. Morpus. Mr. Morpus, come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, my name is T.C. Morpus. I'm a managing partner with the Bro Law Firm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I'm here tonight on behalf of the Chewan Reconciliation Group. And my message to you is simple. You have already done the hard work. You've already taken the politically courageous step of voting to move the Confederate monument. And so I'm here tonight to ask you to finish the work that you've started. As you all know, we have presented a written offer to give to the Chewan County Funds Foundation $50,000 if the monument is moved and title given to my organization within 30 days of movement. We will contribute those funds, and that is not a bluff. I have $50,000 that has been transferred into my attorney trust account now, so we are ready to act. I understand there was recently an email sent by the town manager indicating that you could not consider our proposal because there's pending litigation regarding the monument. With all due respect, I disagree with that position. Simply put, there's nothing to stop you from negotiating with us in good faith, and there's nothing to stop you from approving and accepting our agreement contingent upon a successful resolution in the lawsuit. The other point I want to make tonight, and I say this with all due respect as a town attorney myself, I've often sat where your town attorney is now. I would urge you to stop hiding behind the temporary restraining order that was issued by Judge Tillett back in 2023. As you all know, soon after the monument was voted to be moved, UDC, United Daughters of the Confederacy, filed a lawsuit seeking to stop the movement of the monument. A restraining order was entered. It was specifically premised on waiting for a ruling in the advanced monument case by the North Carolina Supreme Court. North Carolina Supreme Court ruled on that case in March of this year. And since then, there have been multiple civil superior sessions in the First Judicial District. I have here in front of me the North Carolina master calendar for civil superior sessions. And Mr. Ellis can tell you that any matter pending in one county can be heard in others. So even though there aren't a lot of civil sessions in Chewan County, with the consent of the UDC, it can be heard elsewhere. And if the UDC won't consent to have a hearing, a motion to dismiss the case, there is a civil superior session pending in Chewan County next week. So I say all of that by way of, I'm not going to tell you when and how it should be heard, but respectfully, I think it's time for this town to move to dismiss that lawsuit. I think it's time for you to act decisively. Act decisively so that the lawsuit can be resolved, the monument can be removed, and you can have $50,000 more contributed to the public good of the community. I'll be here after the meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Morpheus. The next person who signed up is Michael Dean. Mr. Dean, come forward.
Most of y'all know me. Some of you think I'm a troublemaker. But I can tell you that there's a difference between meanings of words. We made a mistake of calling this a monument to begin with. It's actually a memorial to 47 North Carolina boys, 47 Chewan County boys that never came home. Next month, I'll be going to Elmira, New York, paying military honors to 4 Chewan County boys who lay in the Confederate cemetery outside Elmira, died in 1865. Now let me read this letter to the editor that I wrote. The editor does not tell the truth on everything. So I'm going to read my letter. You can go back to the September 3rd edition and read what he wrote, which is not what I wrote. I wrote, "Dear editor, it is said that good news sells, bad news sells more. I suppose that could translate to selling newspapers as well. But then we are faced with deciphering what is the truth, half-truth, or just sensationalism for the sake of a profit. That said, let's face some facts. In regard to the memorial downtown," he used monument, "Edenton is, downtown Eden, this nagging truth seems to be totally lost. The law is almost never mentioned, and the memorial is protected by law, which the town council seems bent on subverting. Ever since the unfortunate event of George Floyd, the law has not been enforced in many places across the country. Where is Walter Cronkite when we really need the truth in all forms of media? This is not a new phenomenon. Images are springing up of the riots at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago in 1968. The difference is in enforcement. And when people can't have their way, they falsely denigrate their opposition, often aided by the media. Now we hear of an offer to buy the memorial by an outside group when council has already had an offer from a county resident, Mr. Millard Bond over here. But the matter of fact is that by law, nothing can be sold without ownership. Council already tried to punt the ball by giving it to the county. County commissioners voted unanimously not to consider the issue unless council could prove ownership, which they have not accomplished. Take it down. Town council is liable to have to put it back up if the court rules in our favor, and we do intend to take this to the North Carolina Supreme Court if necessary. Thank you very much."
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Our next speaker is Jesse Rivers. Jesse.
I may have gotten in the wrong order to speak to you. I have several things I want to say. First of all, I want to thank the council and whomever else was involved with putting up these wonderful I'm not sure what to call it, shelter, whatever, in the parks. But they're very excellently made and landscaped, and it's just beautiful, and we thank you very much for thinking of us. I live over near the Stratford Hawthorne Park, and it's just very nice, so thank you very much. I always like to do a little humor. I'll be real quick maybe. This is some advice for the tree committee of Edenton. If we're going to plant weeping willow trees in our town, it's come to my attention that they need to be planted very close to any road where they're going to be put. And the reason is they need a shoulder to cry on. Now, we all have certain things in mind, and we've heard things over and over and over, and we just feel like we know how it's going to end. This lady went to her doctor, and she said, "Doctor, I think I might be pregnant." And she already had 3 children, so she kind of felt like she might know what she was talking about. The doctor examined her. He said, "I got news. I got big news. You're going to have quadruplets. You're going to have 4 at one time." Well, she went through the pregnancy, went through the delivery, had 4 healthy babies, went home from the hospital, then her friends started visiting, and they were so excited to see those little babies, and they said, "What have you named them?" And the mother said, "Well, the first one there's Eenie, and the second one's Meanie, the third one is Miney, and the fourth one there, that's Edna." And her friend said, "Wait a minute, that's not the way it's supposed to go. Don't you know it's supposed to be Eenie, Meanie, Miney, and Mo?" She said, "I don't want no Mo." Now, I'm going to quit right soon, but I want to go on record, as I have been for the past few years, that I would like to have the town move the statue. I do not want to have it destroyed or defaced or anything else. We just don't want it where it is right now. And I just ask you to move it, and then we can have this for everyone, this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivers. Our next speaker is Deborah Miller.
Deborah Miller, and I'm from Edenton, lived in Edenton a good number of years now, and I'm requesting that the statue also be moved. It is, personally, I think it's an embarrassment to this town, and the number of people, I started marching probably close to a year ago to have it removed, and the number of people that I've seen of the tourists that you people so desperately want, that think it's an embarrassment, it's embarrassing. Because the tourists don't like it any more than some of the people in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Next speaker, Gil Burrows. Gil?
In late 2022, the Edenton Chelan Board of Education submitted a landscaping plan for the new high school as required by the Edenton UDO. In a November 2022 email to the Board of Education and Town Administration, I cited in detail the sections of the UDO that were not being followed in the submitted plan. I was informed by the town that the initial plan was approved, and when the final plan was submitted, quote, "We may be able to get these revisions in if we catch them." That should have been very easy to do, since I informed them in detail of the problem sections in my previous email. The final plan was submitted in February 22, 2023, starting in February 14, 2023 to April 22, 2024. I made 8 requests to see the approved final plan with no response for the 14 months until I was given a link to a digital copy on April 22, 2024. The approved plan of February 22, 2023 still contained the problems I had pointed out back in November of 2022. Until tonight, despite one meeting in which I presented the town with a detailed drawing of a modified original drawing that did meet the requirements of the UDO, and several requests for action on addressing this situation, the flawed landscaping plan will be followed. What this means is that for the next 50 to 100 years, the community will have to live with the biggest project the town has in violation of its UDO. Missing will be 1, landscaping and trees for shading of the parking lot off of Broad Street in front of the school. 2, half of the required interior landscaping and number of trees for shading parking spaces in the other 3 parking lots around the school building. And 3, the 18 parking spaces required for the tennis courts. Unless the town council exercises its role as authorized in the UDO and demanded by its oath of office, the UDO will become just words on paper. Section 18.12(1)(I) of the UDO states that the plan, quote, shall be submitted and approved by the land use administrator, not the tree committee, to the planning board / town council in conjunction with the applicable criteria. If ever there was a time, if applicable was applicable, this is it. I'm asking you to do the right thing in this manner. See that the UDO is upheld.
Thank you, Mr. Burris. I want to make sure that we don't skip over anyone. Mr. Smith, there's a strike through.
Yes, I'm not prepared to speak.
Did you, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, certainly. Our next speaker is Hal Murray. Hal?
Hal Murray, 112 West Queen. It's really just more of a question than a statement of any sort. The Crystal parking lot was recently purchased by the Destination Downtown. It's still blocked off, and I'm wondering when we can use it as a parking lot.
As we changed our procedures earlier in the year, as public makes comments to us, our town manager, Corey Gooden, takes notes, and he reports back on the manager's report at our September meeting. So he will look into that and get into that particular question with Destination Downtown Edenton, and that'll be a part of his manager's report in September, along with responses to any other comments that were made.
Okay. Well, thank you. The reason I came here and asked that is I have made that request and have never gotten an answer of any sort. I thought maybe I would get one tonight. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we'll get you one. Okay, next we've got Patrick Dablow. Mr. Dablow, come forward.
First of all, I just want to welcome the new interim police chief. Glad to have you here. And eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I can't top that. So. I came here a week ago Monday for the special use permit meeting, planning meeting for the Hotel Hinton, hoping to be overwhelmed and impressed. I was not. There were more questions than answers. The inability to be specific was more than apparent, and I say that because I've spent 45 plus 50 years designing retail spaces all over this country, and when I went into a project, I knew exactly start date, end date, budget, who was financing, when we could be completed, and how much profit we were going to make. So I'm raising the concern, and it is because I live right across the street from the hotel. Nothing could make me happier than to see this hotel turn into a wonderful opportunity for this community. I just wish I had more confidence. And what really shook my confidence was when somebody on the planning board said, have you ever, referring to the Saga people, have you ever developed a historical hotel? And the answer was no. However, we've got this architect and we've got this person, we've got this. Do your research, folks. There was a meeting last night in the Superior Court in Corolla with Saga in regard to the Wellhead Beach property owners. Promised all kinds of things. You can go back to all their promises. Weeping Radish, Southern Shores. It just goes on and on and on. What I found out today in that proposal is that Saga works off of what's called vested rights in North Carolina. And if you're in real estate and you're in law, you understand vested rights. Gives you the opportunity, even if an ordinance has been passed, you can still continue on with your commercial use. What they've done with the Wellhead property people is they've overpromised and now they've said, we're gonna scale it back. Well, they're gonna scale it back, yeah, that's fine. And they've done it here, they did it last week. I guess that's my concern. The continued pattern, and if you wanna read the article, it's the June 22nd OBX Voice article. It talks about how they tend to overpromise. And it all comes rolling back. In the end, I just think this community deserves better, and I say that because of what our new interim chief, this community and the friendliness that occurs here. It's this community. It's not from the outside coming in. There's a lot of people that have wanted to come into this community that would not have done good for the community, and they were not allowed in. I think when you live here, and I blow my sidewalk every morning, and I water my plants, and I turn in and look at a building that never gets taken care of. So I just ask that in your forward movements with the planning, to just keep in consideration those facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And our next speaker is Lori Dablo. Lori?
I come in peace.
We know you do.
I also want to be sure that everybody received an invitation to the community meeting. You should have gotten an email if you are on the town council, and to our neighbors on August 20th, which is a week from tonight, at 6 o'clock on the courthouse green. We've invited all residents of Edenton to come and have a discussion, and Mayor High, and I hope many of the members of the town council, Corey Gooden and others will come and answer your questions, because 3 minutes, let's face it, 3 minutes to stand here and try to get some kind of discourse on important issues, it just isn't very satisfying. So I think we're saving you hours of public comment, hopefully at the August 26th meeting. We have also invited some representatives from the Whalehead property owners group to come and speak to us about what it's like to deal with Saga in the aftermath of things gone sideways. We've asked some folks from Southern Shores to come and talk about the debacle there with the wastewater. And we've also invited Benjamin Briggs from Preservation, North Carolina. He will not be able to join us. We've also invited the press, and so far the response has been great. We should have several members of the press there. So we'll all have a chance to talk, because we're family. We're family here. And we need to have a chance to talk with our representatives. And there's been big, big, big changes in the past year, and in the last 10 years. What Saga promised this community 10 years ago, and what they are hoping to act on now, is apples and oranges. We were talking about a downtown historic hotel, and now we're talking about a multi-use building. We were talking about potentially a design that had a rooftop restaurant, that had rooms for folks. We know, we've all determined that there needs to be a place for people to stay in town. We're sending folks to Elizabeth City and all the surrounding areas. We're just walking dollars right out of our town whenever there are big events here and we don't have enough housing for people. So that's a big difference now. The design, if you've had a chance to look at the packet which will be made available, I'm hoping, on the town website very soon, and looked at their application packet, you will see that the design is a neoclassic design. This is the biggest building in the historic district. Huge, big elephant, highest rooftop. And the design proposal right now is one that has been termed by folks as a Soviet-era military hospital. So I hope y'all will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
And I have flyers if anybody needs one.
Next, we've got John Grant. JD, if you come forward.
Thanks, sir. I'm going to be very brief tonight. First of all, I just want to make sure that everybody knows I sent you an email because I know it breaks your heart, but I will not be here on the 26th to have public comments during the meeting. So I've sent you my beliefs on some of the issues regarding that application. I hope you'll take the opportunity to look at it. The one thing I want to say tonight, and it's very fortuitous that our interim chief is here, I wanted to commend the police department here in Edenton. My wife and I recently had an issue regarding our building, and the police department responded promptly. They stayed at the building until I could arrive on site, and they helped me deal with the issue at hand. So I just want to say thank you, especially to our captain. He was right there with it, and they did a great job. I just want to thank them very much.
Thank you for letting us know that, JD. Okay, next we move to a special presentation. We've got Allison Platt here with Harbortown. She's a consultant working with Harbortown and trying to develop a preliminary site design for Colonial Park. I think she is going to center the initial design on necessary breakwater repairs, seating and waiting pavilion for the Harbortown project, public parking improvements, and addition of a new park attendant dock master building. So Allison, if you'll come forward and give us your presentation, please.
Yes, thank you. As the mayor said, my name is Allison Platt. My company is Regeneration by Design, and my specialty is doing downtown redevelopment, including streetscapes and parks. I did the waterfront park in Indian Point in Newbern, and also the waterfront promenade in Washington. So I work in a lot of waterfront communities and love working in them. Do I have a clip up there? It might work or it might not. Moving it forward. Okay, well, I'll just tell you. So we've gone through, I've come up with some concepts and I've talked to various people about them. So this is like the fourth iteration, and probably not the last. So I'm glad all of you are here tonight, and I hope to explain it to you. The concept shows areas of Harbortown that will help that Harbor Towns will help to improve, including the Harbor Master Building, as the mayor said, including restrooms and showers, aesthetic and structural improvements to the pier, and a pavilion waiting area at the end of the pier. Improvements shown in the rest of the park or for a cost over $2 million, because Harbor Towns has $10 million, $2 million for each community. So we're limited to $2 million in what we can invest. But anything over that is the responsibility of the town. And one of the things that I did was to look at the rest of the park, because if you're going to make improvements in one place, we can think about concepts for the rest of them, and open for discussion. Yes, next one. So this is the park, and you can see, it's a little bit dim, but you can see the red outline, which is right around this area right here. That is the Harbor Master Building, and the restrooms and showers. And then the pier improvements are down here. I guess there's some need of structural improvements here. And the town expressed a preference for having the pavilion, which is a waiting area for the fast ferries or the paddle boat at the end of the pier. So that's where we're showing. Next. This is a close-up of the Harbor Master Building area. And you can see that the one-story area is for the showers and the restrooms. And then in the front, facing the water, is a two-story section for the Harbor Master. You can see that there's handicap access on the back side of it. And then just a couple of other things that we're showing is to the left of that building, outside of the red area, so it's not Harbor Town's responsibility, but there was a request to show a location for a splash park. So that's what that circular area is right there. Next slide. And these are just some images of harbor master buildings that I looked for in the last few days. A lot of them, like the top two, are from New England towns, and a lot of them are similar age to Edenton. And, you know, it might be that shingles is not the right image for the town, but if you can imagine it in clapboard, it might be more appropriate for the town. And then the lower ones are just other examples that all of them could be fashioned so that they fit with Edenton. Next slide. So around it, and some of the things that we're showing in terms of circulation and that sort of thing, you can see that circular area there. That's a new roundabout. So basically, it would be something you would see when you enter the drive into the park. And we're showing what's called a memorable curve around the edge in case there's a really big truck that gets stuck in the park and can't get out, they can get out. And then there's a grassy area, and in the center, that center circle would be a platform for sculpture. Sounds to me, after listening to everyone speaking, that that's a fairly controversial thing, but you know, maybe you could find something about it, I don't know. Or you could just have the flags and leave it at that. So the other thing that's kind of important in this plan, I think, is that the current restrooms are right above the splash park there and a little bit to the left. And basically what they do is they cut the park in two, because you can't get through in a car, and it's not even particularly obvious if you're new to the area that you can go through in front of the restrooms there to get from one side to the other. So basically that's the reason why the restrooms in Harbor Master Building are where they are, so that that space becomes open and you can circulate around the park. It would mean changing the entrance to the play area, which is right here. Right now the entrance is here, and we'd probably switch it over to here for safety reasons, but.
Louder, please.
Huh?
Louder, please.
I'm sorry, yes. But this would work in terms of circulation. Again, there's the splash park there. I also show an area for the tourist bus, the tour bus to park. And you can see that right above where the Harbor Master Building is. You see that long blue rectangle, that's a representation of the tourist bus. So they could park there and load from the plaza and on the top side of the Harbor Master Building, and they could back out and then go around the rotary and out on their tour. Next slide. So these are the improvements, which are pretty obvious, to the pier. So the pavilion's out at the ends, and the loading area for the fast ferries would be there as well, as of right now. I understand there's some concern about whether it would interfere with views to the lighthouse, and we can talk about that at the end if you'd like to. And then also included in the Harbor Town's work would be some improvements to that pier, so that they need some structural improvements, so it's the water flow underneath it so is better controlled. I'm not a marine engineer, but that's what I understand. Next slide. These are some slides of pavilions of kind of different sizes. The thought had been with harbor towns that we might make the pavilions similar in form in the 5 towns. They might be different color, that sort of thing, but that would be an identity for the Harbor Towns folks. And there's a couple there shown on the right that are over the water, which is what your preference is. So I understand. Next slide. Now, as far as the rest of the park goes, I sort of couldn't help myself, I have to say. It seemed to me that large space in the middle of the park was crying out to be something. And right now, there's like one piece of play equipment there, and otherwise it's just kind of a big empty space. So, having done other stages, at least a couple of stages in my work, I found that the right location for it, as you can see where that red roof is right there, would be there because it would block the least number of views towards the rest of the park. And it's very possible that you could make a stage, and I'll show you some images in a minute, where you have the uprights, you know, the pillars for the stage, and don't close it in. And if the roof is slanted correctly, it's still going to be acoustically a good stage, but it's going to allow views through to the lighthouse and to the water and so on and so forth. And then that's a sort of concert lawn there. And the reason I like that location for the stage is that there's a lot of spaces outside of that circle where the uses are kind of unformed at the moment. And if you had a really big event, let's say the 4th of July, and you're going to have fireworks, that means that all those spaces could become spaces for people to set up their chairs and listen to music and so on. You could even have boats and water outside of there, as long as the fireworks don't light them on fire. I don't know about those things. But anyway, at least those three places, and maybe even a little bit wider, you would have you'd have views to the stage, and you'd have probably pretty good acoustics. So that's the big idea there. And also, it's kind of hard to see, but on the lower half of that circle, we basically incorporated the ramps going up to the lighthouse. So you basically step up the same way you do now, next to the pathway around the amphitheater area, and then go up the existing ramps to the lighthouse. Next slide. So here's a couple of stages. The one on the lower left, that's from Wolf Trap, if any of you ever been to Wolf Trap. And it's, the acoustics are excellent on that one, but it is closed in. It's not completely closed in, it's kind of set back a little bit. There's a million ways you can do stages. I've tried to look up historic stages, and the only things I got are like Greek amphitheaters, and I don't think you want to go back that far. So, but on the top there's an open stage, which certainly would allow great views through. And then on the upper right, I showed the stage that we designed for Goldsboro. Now, this looks like a really large stage, but it's not actually, because about half of it is the ramp going up to it. So I showed, if you look at your plans here, this is an outline of that stage, just for reference. But all you would really need is about half of that. So it does not have to have a big footprint, and you'd have plenty of room for probably, maybe not a symphony orchestra, but pretty much anything else you might want. And then I showed the other one in the middle that's closed in, but if you want views, then probably that's not for you. And there's just another kind of open stage on the lower right there. Next slide. That's it. Short and sweet. So, did anybody have any questions, thoughts?
How many additional parking spaces added to this?
We had quite a few more, and we did put parking in here. There's headroom parking coming in. There's the same number of spaces here. There's one more bay of parking right here. And this is about the same. I think these are additional. Well, no, there's some that are there now. So there's a few extra. Originally, I sort of commandeered this space, which is private, into parking. And maybe someday, when it changes hands or something, the town can acquire it and add additional parking. And we also showed like overflow parking here, but I guess there's some limits on the use of that space. So I was asked to remove the parking from here. So there's a little bit more parking, but everything's pretty tight here. You know, and you certainly, in my opinion, you certainly do not want to be putting parking in this area, because that's your, that's the whole game there. So, any thoughts?
I have a question. Are we looking to improve the lighting in this rendering for the park itself? I know that's been a huge concern with different events that we host.
I did not get that fine tuned. I mean, this is just a concept, but yes, in all the parks and all the streetscapes I've ever designed, lighting and safety is very important. So hire me to do your construction drawings and I'll look at them.
And then I guess my only concern that I would have is just with opening up this space right here, allowing the flow of traffic to come back close to the park, and making sure that, we have, fencing, we currently have
Right.
some, but I mean, it's very, very close to, the flow of traffic kind of going through.
Right, and my understanding is this little building here that's in the back parking lot for the town council building, that can't move. So, I mean, it could shift a little bit north, and you could probably, I have seen this sort of arrangement where they put in basically what's like a highway guardrail on the outside of the more decorative fence, just as an extra safety precaution.
Is it possible to put like a sidewalk right there to allow them to kind of exit onto the sidewalk versus exit directly into the street, or are we gonna block what's currently there also, you can't exit on that side?
It might be good to look at other additional entrances and exits and perhaps not have one right there if
Oh, you
we
mean
move
this entrance to the
forward.
parking, to the playground?
Yes, the concern being if you had a entrance and an exit that led right into that new proposed cut through and the safety
An
of the
entrance and
children.
exit for the playground or for the park?
The playground, the playground.
Yeah, I suggested here, there's a call out that says that the entry should be moved to here.
Yeah.
And if there, if the water splash park happens, then you could have an exit entrance going across so that you could, you wouldn't have to walk around to come to the splash park. 'Cause Splash park is probably gonna be chiefly of interest to families and, people with their kids.
Just to follow up, so I guess we have this cut through because, there are times that traffic's really bad, you can't get out on Water Street. In this case, so I guess at events and stuff, people can go both ways. And I see the safety concerns, but
Yeah, it's definitely tight, but I think this is about 20-some, maybe 20-plus feet across. So, it's wide enough. If it's 24, you could probably move it a little bit away from that gate. But, I don't have a survey, so I don't know exactly where the concept is. This will kind of work. That's what the concept stage is. It's like, okay, here are the ideas, but not the implementation.
do you hope to save as many trees as possible?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a landscape architect, so.
I'm a little concerned about the trees across from Barker House here. I think we have 4 oak trees.
Those trees are gonna be dead soon.
They're not healthy, right?
Yeah, no, I know enough about trees to know they can't be saved. They
Yeah.
should be saved for as long as you feel like you want to try and save them, but they're not ever gonna come back. So probably the best thing to do at this point is to remove them and put as large trees as you feel you can afford, because they can get expensive, and you have to take really good care of them the first year, or else they die. The big ones. Sometimes you can plant a relatively small tree, and in a few years it'll be bigger than the big one you paid for because it's youthful.
Addressing council, we will vote on this later, which will give us some opportunity to discuss it among ourselves. This is our opportunity to ask any questions of her. Do you have any more questions?
I think it's a great plan.
Great plan. Beautiful.
Can you stick around in case something does come up in our discussion? Do you have
Sure.
time?
Sure.
You do?
How long will it be?
Depends on my councilman and how long they want to talk, but
Okay,
things
talk fast.
appear to be speeding up after this.
Okay.
So, if you can
If
stick
I'm
around.
on your side, certainly.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next, we move to our committee meetings, and we're only going to have one committee meeting tonight. That's the Administration Committee chaired by Councilman Miller. Greg, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 items of business. The first being the mural application forms. As discussed at our July 22nd council committee meeting, the Edenton Historic Preservation Commission has created new forms to be used in the evaluation of mural applications on private and public properties within the town's historic district. At this time, I would like to move that we approve these new mural application forms.
Got a motion, do we have a second? Any discussion or any questions?
I kind of understand they're working well. Was Dwayne here?
He was unable to.
Okay. The second item is.
Well, we need to have a vote on that,
Okay, sorry.
yeah. We've got a motion and second. There being no further discussion, all in favor of approving the bureau application forms, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. All right, agenda item 2.
Mayor, the second item is the electric utility line clearance worker job description. Also discussed at our last council committee meeting. Our town electric director requested the creation of an electric utility line clearance worker job description. This position would focus its work on the tree trimming and underbrush cleanup along the right-of-ways on the town's electric grid. At this time, I move we approve the creation of this new job description.
Okay, we've got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion or questions?
So for a question, so with that, how are we splitting the duties between alignment as well as tree trimming?
So the primary role of this job will be for tree trimming. That's the majority of the job description. But for us, when there is a emergency need or any type of response that we need to provide for the electric department, by this individual having that certification, it allows us to rotate a 3-person crew and actually respond to outages quicker and more outages with more teams. And so rather than having someone that's simply an arborist, them having the ability to also work on the utility lines if and when necessary, kind of a flow of work. But their primary goal would be right-of-way maintenance.
Any more questions of Councilman Miller or Mr. Gooden?
Our cost of tree trimming service now is way up there, correct?
Yes. Virginia's here with us. I mean, it's in the 6 figures.
Is that privately contracted? Okay. But you do anticipate that we'll be able to utilize this position for much more than tree trimming?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
What level of lineman would this person have the ability,
They should be a second-class lineman. They would either have
so they would have to have that certification?
yes, yes.
If they don't, they can get the training.
We would prefer that they have that.
And that's for safety reasons?
Yes. They need to know that clearing those lines anyway. I mean, they're up in that bucket around that. And a good solid groundman has another set of eyes and a tool, someone for tool prep. And then that individual needs to understand what he's working around.
Yeah, that's dangerous work.
It is.
I like the fact that that's a requirement.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion. You will make that motion. Councilman Miller has made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a second of that. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the updated job description and salary for that position, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next, we've got the third agenda item, Councilman Miller.
Third is the updated salary schedule in association with this new job description. Town staff has requested that the electric utility line clearance worker position be at salary grade 18 level. This time we move to update the salary schedule to reflect this new position at a salary grade 18.
Okay. Councilman Miller has moved that we approve that updated salary schedule. We have a second?
I have some discussion on it just a little bit.
Can we get a second before we discuss it?
Sure.
Anybody got a second?
Second.
Okay, all right. Councilman Costa?
I guess being that the work is actually being split amongst, 2 positions and a primary role being a tree trimmer, then, second would be that alignment role. I don't think it would be fitting to pay them the full rate of alignment when that's not their primary role, when the majority of the time it would be tree trimming. So I'd like for us to just pop explore some options of bumping it down at least for one pay grade to 17, being that that's not going to be their primary role. So that's it.
We can handle that, I guess in two ways. We've got a motion and a second, which we needed to entertain the discussion. We can vote on the motion as presented, and that'll either pass or fail. And if it fails, that would open up the door to another motion. I think would be a procedural way to handle it. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just discussion before we vote.
Yep.
In that pay grade 18 section, that is what we pay a second class line technician. But it's also what we pay a police corporal and a police detective. All the way down to 16 is where we pay the third class technician. And some of the other ones in 17 are actually supervisor positions, like sanitation supervisor and street supervisor, landscape maintenance supervisor, and then the fleet services supervisor position. Just to shed some light on 18, 17, and then 16.
And as you shed that light, did you share Councilman Costin's concerns?
I do. For the reason that he stated, if this person was doing all lineman work, then okay, they need to be paid at the certification they have. But if they're doing primarily tree trimming work, and you know, we want to pay everybody fairly, and we want to pay them what we can. But I feel like we're shortchanging some of those other positions that are at the 18th level, or pay grade 18.
Well, there's another procedural way that we can handle it. I'm certainly at the pleasure of the body. Had two concerns raised, and I don't know if those concerns have risen to the level in the other councilman members' minds, but another procedural way to handle it would be to table the motion and have further discussion and have further questions of our town manager and bring this back at our next September meeting. And again, I'm at the pleasure of the board. We got a motion and a second, but if somebody moves that it be tabled, there's a second to that, and we vote that.
I make a motion to table.
Okay, we got a motion and second. All in favor of tabling this particular issue for further discussion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion to table this particular agenda item has passed, and so it will be so tabled until our September meeting, and that gives everyone opportunity to look into the concerns raised by our two councilmen. Thank you, fellas. Next agenda item is our new business, and underneath new business, our first order of business is a resolution, and this is actually a corrected resolution. Back on June 24th, we passed a budget amendment to recognize a $10,000 grant that we had received for the police department from the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program. And in that, I believe the town of Edenton was mentioned, and it should have been mention made of the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program. And then in another spot where the Highway Safety Program was mentioned, it should have been designated as the town of Edenton. Is that correct? And you're just seeking to approve that as a corrected resolution, correcting those two. That's correct. Clerical errors. I would entertain a motion to enter a corrected resolution as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Any opposed? Motion passed. The second is a budget amendment on the performance and wellness grant from the North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police. The budget amendment is for the town to accept the amount of $2,216 in funding from the North Carolina Associations of Chiefs of Police, and it is a performance and wellness grant. This has been offered statewide, and our administrative staff, led by Tawanda McKeever, was able to successfully present this grant application. The funds are intended to be used for purchase of an essential personnel software, and it'll help the department improve its ability to manage personnel records, track performance metrics, and also keep the department and its officers up to date on their training records. And also, there's a physical fitness component of it also. Is that correct? Do we have a motion to accept that budget amendment?
So moved.
Second? Okay, are there any questions of Town Manager Corey Gooden in that
I
regard?
just want to thank Wanda
She did an outstanding job. This is
for doing
the
that.
second grant that,
How long has she been, how long has she been?
year and a half, right?
2 years.
2 years.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Stand up so you can be recognized.
Hello,
Yeah.
how y'all doing?
Thank you.
Taking leadership on this, and if you see any other grant opportunities out there, please, please go for them, okay?
I will, thank you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve that budget amendment. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes also. The next matter is the Harbor Town site design approval, and I did want to get some clarification from the town manager as our liaison with the Harbor Town project and with Allison Platt. We are approving initial site plans and development of the cost, and all final approval and everything will still have to come before us and come before our boards. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. In order to put this forward for discussion, do we have a motion?
Second.
We've got a motion and second from Councilman Dixon and Councilman Costin. Any discussion or further questions, either of Corey, discussion among ourselves, or questions for Allison? And thank you again for staying with us.
So this is the official vote to approve as such?
Right.
But the concept.
The concept.
Preliminary. Not how everything looks once it gets on.
Preliminary design.
Correct. Do we have anybody from the Harbor County Committee that we created present?
Good question.
The local committee that we created?
No, I did not see anyone
We're
present.
talking about the water pump.
Yeah, we got that chest.
Water.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm behind the sign.
Alright. Y'all have worked
We did, yeah, we had a meeting.
together. Alright, and everybody on the committee is satisfied?
Yeah, a lot of the, I think she took all the concerns that the committee brought up into account. Yeah.
Now, this is the waterfront advisory committee, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you guys will continue to play a part in it throughout.
As long as the mayor would wish. Yes,
The
sir.
mayor wishes you to continue to be involved. Thank you, Chess.
That was my only question.
Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor of approving these preliminary plans and initial site plans, which are conceptual, please signify, or do we, let's see, we got a motion. All in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. All right, now we come to the point in our meeting where we have the town manager's report to respond to councilmen's concerns that were voiced at our last meeting, and also to respond to comments from the public that were made at our last meeting. So I'll hand it off to you, Manager Good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Before you do that, am I done?
You're hereby released. Thank you.
I'm leaving you to dry.
Okay, thank you, and thank you again for staying.
Absolutely.
At the July 9th meeting, we had two very positive public comments that were received, both thanking the administration and the staff on the improvements that have been seen around some of the signage due to the monument picketing areas and the cleanup from that. I think that has continued to work successfully with both groups. And then also for the general cleanup of the public works after the last concert series. I think we had the final sounds of summer, and the same outcome the following morning at 6 o'clock that we saw at the one before. I did want to let council and the general public know that I'd shared these accolades with everyone that was involved, and they were very well received. So I did want to put that out there. As far as items considered timely and important, there were two at our last meeting. Councilman Miller Also thank Public Works and then discuss some of the park improvements. I wanted to update the council and the general public as well. We have completed the first round of upfits for the parks, Paxton, Griffin, and Stratford Hawthorne. We are revisiting the prices for the swings and towers at the moment for another round of improvements at these three parks. We did host a public event at MLK Park on the 25th of July, and we're working through those details now. Dwayne and I have also received notice that we should receive information pertaining to Morgan Park if it was selected for the Parteeth Accessibility Grant on or shortly after the 23rd of August. We should know this. I wanted to chime in on that for you, Councilman Miller. Councilman Turner asked about the next round of paving. I don't know if it's up, it's on the flash drive. But anyway, I gave you a printout for everyone. I have worked with the Public Works Director and the Finance Director for updating the paving list for the staff to consider. We have also summarized what's been completed in the past three phases, which is on the printout that you were given before the meeting. We have put together pricing for the 3 to 5 streets that remain on the condition assessment. It is either Category 1 or Category 2. These were the worst streets. Those are the ones, and I have a further breakdown here as far as what is remaining from those categories. From the list, we have identified 3 candidates that are in immediate need of repair, and what I would recommend is that council would complete these improvements and considering a new paving condition assessment to begin with a newer list to work from, since the original list that we started with predates 2017. So when we look back at the 3 phases that you see on the map, the first 3 phases combine just the town alone, not including the improvements that we've seen from NCDOT, total 47 streets that have been paved. If you notice also, there are 2 sections in blue that are shown there that are part of a larger water and sewer project. That should also see some pavement improvements once that's completed. That's why those streets have been delayed. When we look at the remaining, there's currently only 1 remaining Category 1, which was determined to be the worst. I look back at that one specific street, and I think that that was simply a grouping error when the initial assessment was made. When I look at the Category 2 streets, there are a total of 5, which we had tasked David Myers, Public Works Director, to go out and get pricing on. 2 of which I do not recommend that we consider because of larger projects that need to happen with those. But the 3 remaining that we're looking at this year, the first being Iredale Drive, which we have a major water and sewer project that's paid out of capital this year for sewer replacement. Just like when we did water line replacement in-house for the West Peterson Street, we did that paving in-house as well. Iredale Drive needs to be considered. We've also looked at Blade Circle as well as North Oakham Circle. Those would wrap up the remaining 3 streets that would be Category 2, which is second to worst. Questions, concerns, anything about that? And that were the only 2 items that were brought up at the last meeting for me to address.
My question does that put us in a position to start, or would these projects put us in a position to start looking at the next paving cycle? And is the next paving cycle spring of 2025 or fall of 2025?
I think we would need to do a condition assessment spring of 25. We would try to get these 3 remaining originally Cat 2 streets paved this fall or this spring. In 25, we would do the condition assessment. Because you think about that, we've had 46 roads, and not including the DOT ones that have been paved, and these 3 that we're looking into now. The real question is what is the conditions of the roads that were not Cat 1 or Cat 2 that were maybe ranked lower, and also how's the streets that have been paved, how have they held up? I think that's something. So I think the right move would be
finish what we started, start a new condition assessment, and then come back to council after July of 25 to make a larger recommendation based on what the study finds.
And we're still waiting on the state on Broad Street and
Yes.
Gravel Street.
Yes.
And by contract, that work's supposed to be done by late fall.
Yes. Yes. that is
Okay,
correct.
our next agenda item is items considered timely important by council members, or any items that the council would like to report or ask considered timely and important.
I got two.
The floor is yours.
When we gonna start on my sidewalks or curbing and all that stuff? We still got ditches that haven't been filled in.
So I've shared the concerns, I've shared council's concerns, particularly with the areas that we have discussed, and had that discussion with our public works director, and we should be getting quotes on all those areas. With those type of projects, that's something that we could expect to do before the end of the year and have actually finalized. The money's there, council supported us. Right now, we're waiting on quotes for sidewalk and curb and gutter, as well as the stormwater improvements.
Have we already approved those quotes? We obviously have, because we don't have them, so that's going to come back before us.
Yeah.
And you'll put it before us as soon as you
Yeah.
get the required number.
Yes.
With the work that they're doing on the school, this is not gonna stop in North Edenton with the sidewalks and, so we gonna be able to get that too?
Yes, sir. So when we were going through the paving update, there were 5 streets that were still listed either Cat 1 or Cat 2, which were the worst conditions, 2 of which were removed, East Freemason and Blade Street, because those projects need to be included as a part of a larger streetscaping, sidewalk, landscaping, and paving plan, to really connect the area from.
And lighting.
And lighting. The DF Walker complex, the COA complex, the new high school program, as well as the new fire station project. And those kind of midtown roads were placed on hold because they need to be a part of the bigger project, including the parking, including the curbing, including the sidewalk. It would not be any benefit for the town to spend those funds to pave those streets quickly and then in less than 2 years' time remove those, or put in curbing, or put in parking, and then have to pave again. So we wanted to try to hold on those for a larger streetscaping project, kind of midtown.
Okay. The cameras for the playground, because we're still getting unwanted visitors on the playground. Have we got the signs made up?
We have, the signs were made up. We've actually had a lot more active patrol with PD in those areas. I do remember Captain LaFawn pushing through the PO for the network boxes that are needed to do those installs. Hunter's out. I don't know if they've received those yet at the electric department. When he gets back from vacation, we'd like to go ahead and get the electric department to get those installed and to coordinate with the internet providers to get them online. But we have been, we've had a turnaround on patrol, particularly with the updates. Public Works and those concerns, neighborhoods had, residents had expressed some concerns, and because of that, we've been on active patrol. And I think this past weekend or the weekend before, we've actually made a handful of arrests and things like that for folks that were causing some of the concerns in these new parks.
Okay.
What kind of concern, what was going on?
Illegal behavior of all sorts. Yes.
Corey, I'm getting a lot of calls on Gravel Street. Do you feel comfortable we're gonna have this done by October?
I sure hope so.
I think that's is that the 18th month? Or?
It's drawing near. I think there was a February and March let on those 18-month contracts, so they will be a 30-day window between the two finalizing.
And when we say Gravel Street, we're talking from Freemason to Queen, is that correct?
We're talking from, yes, that's correct.
It's not the entire.
No, the southern end of Granville Street from Queen, Eaton, South Mosley, and Water Street is town owned. And there are still sewer improvements that need to be made there before we consider paving.
So that would not be included in it?
That's 10.
Yes.
It's 10.
That's why the condition assessment makes more sense. We've made quite a bit of improvements. We've identified roads that are DOTs, we've identified roads that are towns. If you look back at the 2017 condition assessment, how does Granville Street score? Probably not bad. Or it would
You mean
be-
south?
South
of
Granville,
Queen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that was clear to us all.
Yeah, that's why that condition assessment in early spring is key. I'm sure that streets that were 3, 4, and 5 categories have really moved forward in the list. They need to now be category 1 and really push forward. But if you look at what's there, I mean, it's quite an impressive list to think that the majority of that's been done since 2019. And so to have 46 roads, not including the ones that are DOT, that's pretty substantial.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, so I have one inquiry, a couple. So, just an update, did you ever get I know it's been a while, the update for the recap from the planning session? I just want to know like where we are on track with achieving some of those goals that we went over.
I've got it, I need to send that out. I was gonna send it to the group to see if there was any other items they wanted, because those minutes need to also be approved, for this. I've got that, I just need to send it out, it's finished. And, I mean, I can get that out this week.
Gotcha. Another thing too, some of the things that we went over with the park improvements, I know we conducted a bunch of the surveys, and some of, kids and parents have been asking, are we gonna include some of those items that some of the kids have requested for, like things like the Gaga ball or something like that, like just very small things, and then also Wi-Fi at the parks, all neighborhood parks, that's been a question that,
And so, in addition to the camera improvements, we are gonna have those discussions with the internet providers to see about the internet, very similar to what we've done downtown. Initially, we wanted to, we really wanted to look at those parks kind of in 3 breakdowns. One, the immediate needs that the folks had told us they wanted, which was we need to fix what we had. And so we upfitted, the existing basketball courts, and then everyone almost unanimously had said, we want the park shelter. So we got those in and got those done while we had the opportunity. The second piece is for us to really replace the swings as well as the playground equipment. Once that's done, we've had a lot of discussion in-house. One of the things that we're looking at is adding those unique features to each park, and each park having its own unique item that was added, whether that was Gaga pit, whether that was sand volleyball court, whether that was frisbee golf basket. We wanted each park to have something unique to encourage folks to visit these other parks and go see them in the other communities. And that way, every park wasn't the same. And so that we are planning on adding a lot of those unique elements once we get the playground equipment in. We want to get that in, and for spacing wise, we can add those items in that footprint.
okay. Could we work with Tyler, I guess, to construct some type of timeline or something that we put out to the public, let them know that, hey, we didn't ignore what, some of their wants were for the park?
We can do that.
On social media and the website.
Tyler did a good job listing what's needed at Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Something like that would be great.
And we've been trying to keep folks up as we've made our way through the improvements and push things out on social media, but I think them folks understanding that we're gonna go after the equipment, and then we're gonna go after the community ask for those unique amenities. I think that's the step, and, most of the amenities are, which is favorable, fairly float on items to add. So knowing that, knowing the huge expense that, comes with playground equipment, I mean, just a playground tower, we wanted to make sure those were added and upfitted first.
That money does not have an expiration date though.
Yes, the ARPA funds do, and we will be done before then, I can promise.
I thought it was supposed to be appropriated, like we were good.
It had to be appropriated by the end of this year and has to be, expanded by the end of '26.
Okay. Can we get an update on the ARPA funds, where we are with, some of those things, some of those projects, to see if maybe we need to
You feel
reappropriate
comfortable
those
get
funds?
everything, paid for within that amount of money
Yeah.
for you?
I do.
Just to follow up on Aaron's point about some of the special use things at the park, that'd be a good opportunity for the town to implement a pickleball court or two. They're only 20 by 44, and we get lots of requests for those.
All the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody smiling too hard.
All right, I will, at this hour, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, sounds like it's unanimous. Thank you all for being here.
Makes me laugh.